know you got some struggles, come let's talk about it. I know you got some pain, come let's talk about it. You thumbing through that rain, we gon' talk about it. Let's talk about it, let's talk about it. We building up that kingdom, we gon' heal the body. Just 3 men sitting here, we tryna be so godly. Got purpose in the tongue so we can hear your calling. Let's talk about it, let's talk about it.
All right, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
That's the name of this podcast, and on this podcast, we'll be talking about some topics that might be controversial sometimes. But basically, we want to take topics that you might talk about on your dinner table, Thanksgiving, and maybe get in an argue with Uncle Tom about. Sometimes it might be a little bit more mellow, and sometimes they might be a little bit more heated. But we want to try to level those things out, get to the core of these topics, and try to have just an amicable conversation around it, get people talking and discussing these things. And today we're going to be talking about one that's going to be a little bit more on that heated side. You might be cast out of the family talking about it, and that is politics. One of the top things that people tell you not to bring up when you meet somebody, but we're going to do that today. We want to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
And the theory is, which way would Jesus vote? Putting a spin on it, putting a little religious spin on it. And that being, a lot of people feel validated in the way that they vote, or they're influenced in the way that they vote because of their religion. And that's heavy on the right. Let's be honest. That's heavy on the right. The right is perceived as having Christian values, right? And they feel that like this is the way that if you're a Christian, you should be voting this way. If I'm misinterpreting that, let me know. Put it in the comments. But heavy, especially in the South, we live in the South, right? So heavy in the South is, this is the way biblically, right? I voted for these people because they have Christian morals and that aligns with me, so I'm voting for that person. And Democrats, I would say maybe not so much charged solely religiously, but they do kind of feel that they're more kind of on that equality sense, right? More amicable, more inclusive, right? So which one of these sides would Jesus fall into, or if any? So let's break down for the folks at home between Republican and Democrat. If you talk to me about on the Republican side, if you tell us about that for the folks at home.
Yeah. So Republicans, number one, the idea of a Republican Party is that there is limited government control.
Okay.
Right. So it's the idea that you are your own being, and that when you are making decisions, it shouldn't be some being over you other than God trying to decide how you do things. Right.
Okay.
They also, as you mentioned before already, they're very aligned according to, based on the principles that they believe in, such as no gay marriage. They're aligned with what they say, what they would call biblical principles, right? So they believe that tradition is important. Family values are very important, right?
Okay.
They're not advocates on things like abortion, right? Abortion, marriages that are not traditional kind of marriages. I mean, they're not big on polygynous or polygynous. One of the two. Polygamous. Yes. Polygyny is also a thing too.
Polygyny and polygamy
are both
are two different things.
Yeah, they are.
I'm assuming they're probably against both.
So they're
Correct us if we're wrong.
They're all about tradition.
Okay.
And keeping things traditional. And not having to be controlled by somebody who is supposed to be in authority.
I guess that falls into what they call it conservative, right? Because conservative, you don't want things to change. Right? More going to be kind of more so rigid and sticking to what the traditional was. And things that you're saying, like traditional marriages, right? So within opposite sex marriages, 2 partners.
Yeah.
1 plus 1 being 2. And these other things, that's primarily coming from their religious values.
Yeah, 100%. It's the idea that they have a belief system that they follow based on their religious beliefs, and then legally these things are not accepted on this side.
Okay, it's fair. I mean, folks, traditional values, that so bad. I mean, valuing marriage doesn't seem so bad. Limited government, not being controlled by the government, doesn't sound too bad to me. I mean, as long as things are not wild out there, right? So
yeah. By the way, we're sharing two different sides, right? I am not stating what side that I'm on currently. I am just sharing the side of the Republican right now.
It's for the sake of educating the people.
Correct.
So nothing there sounds too terrible. Let's hear. Can you tell us a little bit about the Democratic side? How they feel?
Yeah. So, not to get like too much in the weeds, I think conservative and liberal are technically different than Democrat and Republican. I'm definitely not an expert on politics, but that being said, I would say Democrats are typically more like liberal or progressive in the way that they think in terms of everything that they do in the government is generally considered. There's a general consensus amongst scholarly communities, right, and people who put a lot of time and effort and research into what they truly believe would be the best way to move humanity forward, right? So like they see a lot of things as cultural rather than this is right or wrong, right? So like culturally, if somebody wants to have gay marriage, who is the government to say that you're necessarily wrong in that, right? Because there isn't any one particular religious foundation in the party. They're very accepting of all beliefs, all systems, all cultures, as long as we are setting laws in the government that what they believe to be moving humanity forward in the best possible direction. So they're very progressive with like, okay, modern medicine, you know, we're able to have abortions, right? You know, the harm is not seen, right? Or there may not be harm, right, for a scientifically correct thing to be done on a human body, because at the end of the day, we're all humans and we have to keep progressing and moving forward. And at the end of the day, like if somebody decides with their own free will that they want to have an abortion, you know, who is the government to say that you can't do that?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not that they necessarily want more control in government. It's that the decisions that they make to have or not have, yeah, I'm trying to think of like some fancy word, but to have or not have control, right, over people is they truly believe that it's going to progressively move us forward as a nation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like those kind of align though.
They do. It's weird because I feel like, cause what he's saying is wholeheartedly right. It's like they both don't want control of the government, but I believe one side has more control than the other, right? But they just, one wants you to control specific areas of the life, as in how you can financially operate on a day-to-day basis, or how much assistance that you get, versus the other side, which is, I think is more the conservative Republican side, is more of like, let me determine how I can do these things in my life. Let me determine how I can operate on a day-to-day basis. But then let's keep things traditional as well.
Yeah, a lot of irony there, because let's look at Obamacare, right? Republicans were upset over Obamacare for the fact that people had to be forced to have insurance.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people who didn't have access to insurance then were able to have access to insurance. I remember a teacher was like, a teacher teaching children, because of Obamacare, was able to go to the doctor, which he wasn't able to afford to before, right? It's just like, oh, thanks to Obamacare, I can go see my doctor, and now this like illness that I had, I'm doing better. But which seems like a good thing, right? We want teachers and other people to be healthy. But Republicans were pretty upset about the fact that they were forced to have insurance, or that the government is forcing this onto people, right? And right, okay, private healthcare and so forth, like these are options that are available, but it's like government says everybody must have insurance, and then says, wait, this is a problem, you're forcing this onto me. But then as you talk about the topic of abortion, and we're not going to get deep into that because it's a whole episode coming, but Republicans will want to push the inability to have an abortion, right? The government should force people, like here's another healthcare thing, right? But the government should force people to not be able to have access to this thing, right? And we could spew things. I know there's a lot of like ways of perceiving abortion, like the act of it, right? But nevertheless, the foundation of this is Obamacare came, people are forced to have healthcare. This is the government forcing something upon people, and Republicans said, no, I don't want that. Then go out and rally for abortion, say government should force people to not be able to have access to this. It seems kind of counterintuitive, no?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the values.
Okay.
There's a different set of values on both sides. And both parties believe that their values are the right values to have. Right? So, and the way I think about Democrat versus Republican, not necessarily on the value side, but more on just a general spectrum of what they are. I think of it like, okay, to your point, Obamacare, right? Obamacare is a great example of because of the way things are, and because some people are irresponsible. We got insurance companies, healthcare systems, like, you can believe whatever you want to believe about that. Let's try and make this as fair for everyone as possible.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think of it like, let's say you're playing Monopoly and you guys are, if y'all don't know, Monopoly is like hours and hours and hours, right? Such a long game. But okay, so let's say you're like maybe halfway through, you're like an hour in, right? And let's say you got like all the best properties, right? Let's say I came up and I got like the light blue properties, or like the purple ones at the very beginning, like the ones that suck, right?
Okay.
And let's say I got like no cash. Let's say you got the best properties. You got all the cash. You got all the estate. Let's say somebody just comes in, looks at the board and says, okay, we're going to reset, and just splits everything down the middle. And we all get the same amount. Who is that fair for, right? Because some people are going to be, that's not fair. I worked for all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I stuck to my values, right? I played the right way, and I got what I got. How is that fair to me that you're now giving this to somebody else? But somebody else was like, I stuck to my values and what I thought was right. I also played the way I thought it was right, but I ain't getting none of that. So this is fair to me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, though, if you apply that to real life, because in the Monopoly, we're in competition. This is a game where I'm trying to win. I'm trying to beat you.
Yeah.
But are we looking at, and I guess we are, through the economic system that we have, where everybody else is competition. Everybody else in the world, like, that is not me and my family, is competition then. And it's all about putting myself forward. Right? Because I, in one hand, could say, you're struggling, Logan. Like, I have a ton of properties. I have a ton of cash. You got nothing, dude. Here, like, have some. And I would still have plenty, right? Even if you split it down the middle and have half, like, I would still have a lot. But for the fact of me feeling like I've been taken from, and the objective is for me to beat you and win out, that's unfair to me. But if we apply that to today, right, where let's say, like, I have all of this money, I have a best friend, he's got no money. I say, man, I got 10 million here, here's 5 million. It's like, would you do that? Would you do that for your friends? I feel like the answer is a lot easier to say yes when we have abundance.
Yeah.
Right? If I have 10,000, if you have 10,000, I said, man, I'm struggling, would you give me
5,000?
Yeah.
And you were struggling?
Yeah.
And I have 10K?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
5K is a lot. That's 50% of my net worth.
It feels like a lot. But if you had 10 mil, would you give me 5 mil?
Dude, you want 50? 50 mil instead? No. if I had 10 mil, I'd give you 50K.
No, but would you give me half of 10 mil?
5 mil.
Oh, would I give you half of 10 mil?
Yeah.
Oh, 5 mil. That would be easier to do, I think. Maybe.
It feels easier, right?
Yeah.
It feels a lot
you
lighter.
have more.
Yeah.
Even though it's way more, it feels lighter to give.
I thought you said 5K. If I had 10 mil, would I give you 5K?
No.
Like, oh, of course.
Yeah, no. That'd be nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like there's this fallacy, right? Where it's like, the less that we have, the harder it is to give up. And the more that we have, the easier it is to give up. right? And I think that kind of comes into, I know this is on politics, but one key part of politics is economics and the economic structure. And we get into like capitalism, socialism, communism, right? And so capitalism, obviously, in America, where we live in America, that's what's promoted as being the best. But that doesn't really serve everyone, right? Because it's harder to give money when you have less money. It feels harder to give money when you have less money. But it feels easier to give money when you have more money, right? If I had $1 billion, I give you $1 million, anything, right? But it'd be tough to give you 100 for no reason right now, and give you 100 for no reason right now. It's like, dang, like you want 100? That's a lot of money, right?
I would say one thing to that point though, with the gift of capitalism is the idea that you may have the million, and you may have $1 million and be able to give someone 1,000, right? But then I also have the same opportunity and availability to do the same. Maybe not the exact equal opportunity, but the resources are around me as I develop as a person. And I think when you take that from people, I think that's where Republicans are viewing things as like, you take that away from me, my ability to go get it. Because if I'm a go-getter and I don't have it, at least give me the chance to go get it without restraint, you know? It just brought me to that idea, you know, and in that statement, I wanted to share that.
That's fun. And I would say, like, not to restrict or inhibit that ability, but I think it kind of sells this idea of like, hey, you have the opportunity to become a millionaire. And everybody believes that they're going to be a millionaire one day. Whether it's through lottery, till the day that they die, they buy lottery tickets and believing that God's going to make me a millionaire one day, or hoping that they're going to get blessed through a breakthrough business and they're going to continue to grind or whatever. But everybody believes that they're going to make money, they're going to make headway, and that's their goal. And if other people lose out, then they were just lazy. They didn't try hard enough, or you know, everybody had the same resources and opportunities. But look at like compassion, right? It's like, compassion, whatever. Like everybody make something for yourself. Like you don't need handouts and so forth, right? But let me ask you, which one of these economic structures did the early church have?
The early church, as in like
in Acts,
okay.
Like after Jesus passed and came back and went to heaven.
Which economic structure?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't. Neither.
You mean of like the society that they were in?
Yeah.
They were
well,
they were
amongst themselves.
Oh, just as a body, like as a church.
As a body.
What you call that? They had a monarchy. Jesus was king.
Well, that's their governing structure, but economy between them. How did they handle money?
Oh, I see what you're saying. They gave up everything they had. They shared everything.
There you go. And which structure is that?
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
You don't know that fall into socialism? No? Because everybody has...
That would technically be...
Wouldn't
that be communism or something?
Communism is everything's owned by the government.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Socialism
is
socialism is it's
owned
equal
among the people.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It's true. They gave up everything, and it said that everyone shared everything.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, just speaking in times now, like a socialist economy usually is it benefits the government the most because it's divided equally amongst everyone else. But like I think Cuba is a socialist economy, right? Aren't they socialists?
I think they may now.
Yeah, they're socialists, right? Well. And so like everyone gets the same thing. Pretty much everyone there, I wouldn't say is poor, but like lives in the condition that they live in. But you can't just go make extra. Like you can't go rent out an Airbnb in Cuba. Like,
okay,
for the idea, basically, if anyone's doing that, is the government. They're the ones that get everything for that. And I think when you have leadership or people who are, most people in the socialist world are selfish, right? So in the Acts, back in Acts, like, these are people following Christ, and that's their mentality, is to be Christ-like, which is the complete opposite of being selfish. So it's hard in today's world where if Christ is not the center of your life, to say socialism is acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that also, it's like, if God forced us to love him, would we actually love him? You know what I mean? So that same premise, like when we have the free will, like, okay, if we have a socialist economy, whatever, if the government is saying you guys have to do this, how many of us are actually going to be joyful when we do it? You know what I mean?
Right. And so, I mean, y'all raise good points, but let me tell you this, right? Because if you listen to, I just remember I was working for this landscaping company, right? And my boss at the time was like very staunch Republican. And so I'm listening to this like very hard Republican radio. And the whole time I'm like driving to fill up the truck with gas. And they're just like, man, the Democrats want socialism and that's terrible. And socialism, that's the devil. And I'm like, yo, but like, why? And it's like, realizing like this concept of socialism is not an evil thing. But as you said, it doesn't work out. But why is it that these things, like communism in its form, is not a bad thing either, but we make it out to be the enemy in the world, right? America goes and we're like, we cannot let communism win in the world. But why are socialism and communism bad?
It's not that they're bad, they don't work out because we're human.
There you go. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to rise to the top, take control, and again, it's the same premise. If you force someone to do something, they're not going to want to do it. So if the government's telling me I have to be a good person and share all of my stuff, like, I probably would have done it. I would have been more likely to do it before they told me to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's the people on the inside, but then it's also someone's going to rise up and they're going to try and benefit from all of it.
Which all equates to greed.
Yeah.
Right? It's just you have the ability to be on top. It's never enough. So you have to keep doing more to be on top, which then in return has to bring everyone else below you.
Is that not the same in capitalism though? Because you said that somebody always ends up on top. But then we look at Musk, we look at Bezos, we look at Gates, right? You could just name like just a handful of billionaires in capitalist countries. But then you have 99.9.5% of the rest of the population. They're not.
See, the only thing I would say about that is, yes, we have our Bill Gates, we have our Jeff Bezos, we have our Elon Musk, we have our Mark Zuckerberg, but 99% of the population also isn't thinking like them, and so they're not accessing the tools in their mind alone to be able to achieve that level. And so in these other economies, if you have the ability to access those, you'll be shut down because of the fact that you're not allowed to do that, right? So I think the difference with capitalism is that you are allowed to get that information to get there, potentially.
Okay. Yeah.
I think really the crux of it is within the nations that have these economic structures in place, the governments that they have are different from the government that we have here, which the government's a little rocky, but as you said, the government always ends up taking advantage. You have typically military powers that are in place and a dictator that's in place, right? So that always gets channeled to a singular person, whereas that is more spread here in America. But if we didn't have that, then they would be more so able to flourish and to work out. But I would say each system is flawed regardless, between all of the economic structures. The problem is that it depends on people, and people by default are going to be greedy because that's just human nature, right? It's always going to come at a cost to each other. But if we look at, in the purest form, the early church with Christ as king, what they implemented at the time is what we call akin to socialism. But now, if we look at like government structures, I mean, which brings us to another point, right? That you said they had a monarchy, right? We look at like dictators, and we're like, oh, like this country has a dictator, like that's terrible. Right? I'm talking about politics, but it's like looking at like really now evolving into multiple angles of this, right? And it's like we would look at a country that has a dictator and say like, oh, this is terrible. And I say, okay, dictator kind of puts a bad connotation. We could say a monarchy, right? They have a singular ruler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the same thing in heaven, right? We have a singular, if you're Christian, like you have a singular ruler, no matter what country or government structure you're living under right now, you, in general, above all of that, have a singular ruler, and that is Christ. Christ is king.
Mm-hmm.
And so just dropping that, because it's like, how previously have you thought about like countries that have dictators or have singular rulers, like monarchies and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, just by default. And I would say also we were trained to think this way.
Right.
Because we're in America, right? So we're trained to think that dictatorship is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And we're good at painting the picture of all dictators being evil, which quite a few of them were.
Right, because human.
They're human, right? So I get that. I definitely get that. So by default, there's this natural sense to think that dictatorship is bad and that it's not a good thing. And like any kind of ruling that rules around dictatorship is of the devil and is not of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to think that. But yeah, you make a valid point though. It's like the eternity is in a dictatorship. Not really a dictatorship. Not a dictatorship. But like a monarchy. Yeah. Basically of a one ruler.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting to think about. I think it was Samuel. Pretty sure it was Samuel. Where essentially like all the Israelites wanted a king, right?
Right.
And
it's in Samuel. Were you talking about the person or the?
But it was in Samuel.
Yeah.
But God was telling them like, I'm your king.
Right.
Right. So when we think about like the original setup of the nation of Israel, it seems like that was the intention, right? All along for the type of nation that God wanted us to have, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no one ruler. God is the ruler. God is our king. Christ is our king.
Mm-hmm.
And we simply have ministers who seek the will of God for our nation, and we're a priestly nation, right? That's what God wanted. He didn't even want like, I don't know, it's just interesting to think about, and something like that, would that even work in today's day and age? Like how far we're all the way out here now, you know what I mean? Would something like that even work in today's age? So I think
England like that, because they have a king and a queen. Or a king. Right now they have a king.
Right, but the thing is I'm talking about before Israel had a king.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's the setup God intended for his nation Israel.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, we want a king. And it basically dethroned Christ as the king of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm saying that to say any other government that we look at nowadays, number one, it's human, so it's going to be flawed. But it's also, number two, it's going to be flawed because it wasn't the original idea that God had for a nation in the first place.
Mm.
So they're always going to be flawed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. And I kind of want to drop these things, especially what you said about like being trained, right? Because like as Christians, I kind of want to just like change the mindset on these things, right? Because I'm realizing like never thought of this in that way. Right? Because you think like, oh, like these things are bad because the news tell us that it's bad, and because we went through school and like it said that it was bad there. And so like here in like a democratic society where like we vote and we have a president, we've got, checks and balances in our government, we think about like having a sole power as just like de facto being bad. But the reason why that structure in itself is not bad, but the reason why it's bad is because that leader is human, which means that they're flawed, and so they're imperfect, and so that structure is going to become imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing that like, hey, that's actually what God intended, for there to be one sole ruler, but that ruler is going to be perfect because it's God, right? And we look at these economic systems and we think like, oh, like socialism, communism, like socialism is just this terrible thing. And depending on the media that you listen to, it's painted out to be this terrible thing, but it's not. It's just that people that execute it are flawed.
Right.
So the structure is going to be flawed.
Yeah.
But within the early church and within like the kingdom of heaven, like that is how it is. Like that's the economic structure that's in place. Or really, it's kind of communism because all the resources and assets are God's anyways. All the assets belong
That's
to
true.
God.
We don't own nothing.
Yeah,
We don't have
exactly.
anything.
Yeah,
Just
right.
God just allows us to use it. So
Yeah,
like technically, like heaven is communist because everything belongs to God,
Mhm.
right? The ruling power owns all of the resources that are in place. God, the ruling power, owns everything. He made everything. So technically, yeah, like that's what's in place. But these things as a concept are not bad. It's just they become tainted because people aren't perfect.
Mm.
So I just
That's
want to
real.
change like that
Mhm.
mindset, right? Have y'all
Yeah.
ever thought of this in that way?
Yeah, definitely. And to tie it all back to like Republican and Democrats, like when you think about, okay, so again, to go back to the fact that Democrats aren't specifically religiously based in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
generally speaking, I speak broadly, most Democrats don't base their decisions off of what would Christ want. That's just statistically, that's just the fact of it, right?
Sure.
And so, like to your point, every single ruler is going to be flawed, and every government is going to be flawed if it's not the government that God ordained, for a nation to have in the first place. So as far as like the Democrat side of things, right? Since they don't typically have that foundation in what does Christ ruling in our lives look like, it's almost as if the Democratic Party has this sense of justice, and that's the basis. This sense of justice is the basis for the type of government that they have, and the type of laws that they pass, and the type of regulations that they have. No guns in school, right? Is like the sense of justice of like, guns are bad because people are bad, and because people are going to do things that are bad, right? And so there's this sense of like, it's almost like they only want to have as much control as it takes to be able to minimize the harm done to humanity and move humanity forward in a way that fits the sense of justice that they've created.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm.
That's interesting too with because on the Republican side, it's not even that the rules and the authority, the governing authority, is about being aligned, but it's all about following the law of the Bible. Is basically what they really are going for, which is less about relationship, all about the law. And so there's a lot of Republicans who are just believing, well, because the law of the Bible says this, then essentially this has to be God's way of doing it wholeheartedly, which we know that relationship is all of what Christianity is about, having a relationship with Christ. And so your relationship with Christ ultimately means that he's sovereign ruler of your life in general, which then you wouldn't be falling underneath any political party in that instance, right?
Fair.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm seeing two things as like you guys are talking on the Republican side, right? Saying like this, where their values come from in that, like this goes according to God's law, which means that it's good, which means that it's right, and this is how things should be. And so, of course, they would want the law of the land to be like that because, hey, this is what is best if it follows God's law. And the problem there being that people don't follow to God's law.
yeah,
Right? People are flawed. And even like they themselves, like, let's be real. I mean, we could just go to Romans, like all fall short of the glory of God, right? Like we all are going to fall to follow the law to a T. And on the Democratic side, right? I mean, it's kind of absent from God, not absent from God, but like not relying on God, is recognizing those flaws and saying like, hey, like we have to set up the system to protect us from ourselves because people are destructive.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like God's way is good and it's right. And like, that's how things should be. Okay, cool. It's great to believe that. But at the same time, we're not great at following that.
Yeah.
And so like there's value in wanting to follow that. And like, yeah, as a Christian, you should strive to follow that. But on the Democratic side, it's kind of recognizing that like, hey, you're going to fail in doing that anyways. And then what? Right? Because people are flawed and they're like, sin is just like inevitable, right? You're going to fail anyways. You're going to make mistakes. And there should be systems in place that build around those mistakes.
That's a really, really good way to put it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
And then so as you said, like as a Christian, like God should be like ruler of your life. So then you really shouldn't be affiliating to any party anyways. And it's crazy how people place identity, right? And I just think about like, have y'all seen people who like make their party their entire identity?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, bro.
It's take a step outside, bro.
Yeah, literally. It's like, I mean, even when you're just in regular conversation, getting to know people, one of the most common things to stay away from is political talk. Because the moment you say something out of line of how you politically think, then the whole perception of you has changed entirely. No matter how well the conversation was, no matter what you talk about, because you voted for one individual, it like tells the story of who you are all of a sudden, you know?
Now you're given that identity. It's not even that, you may not even actually identify with that.
Yes.
But because of the fact that the identification with parties is a very real thing, that people will then identify you with that.
Yeah, and it's like you're locked into that identity now. It's like, and then you feel this natural sense of to defend it, of like, now I need to defend why well, this is why I think this way, right? And then it turns into a big argument, and now all of a sudden there's this tension between this person. It's this unspoken tension to where when I'm around them, I can't have a real conversation because I know you believe this.
Right.
And where is God in the midst of any of that?
He's not.
Yeah.
And so that you went one way, right? Somebody discovered your political alignment or got some hint towards your political alignment and then assumed about you and who you are. Have you seen the reverse in your life ever?
Where people
somebody
are just
assumed what affiliation you are?
Wait, say that again?
People assumed that you were one party or the other because of things about you.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. Dude, as soon as I talk to people, they're, oh yeah, you voted for Trump, 100%.
Bro, for me, it's like, I mean, just being a black male sometimes, right? Being a black male, going to my client's house, like, a lot of people feel the need to tell me about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Like, it's just off the rip. They just want to tell me that. But then also, you know, there are people who want to gauge what you believe, so they make statements to see how you respond to those statements.
Facts.
And so when your response is either in favor of them or against them, they amplify what they're saying or they distance themselves from you.
Yeah.
You know, they're waiting to see which way you're going. So I've seen that too, where they're like waiting to assign me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I hear you're a nice guy. Let's see what you really are. Oh man, I can't believe it. I don't even want to. They start with this. I don't even want to get into this, but that Trump dude. Waiting to hear my response. I'm like, I agree, or what about him?
No, fact. That happens to me all the time. And here's the thing, right? It's kind of funny, right? I had it happen on both sides, right? I will have Republicans think that I am Republican, and I will have Democrats think that I am Democrat. And I've like scratched my head on that and like wondered like why both sides think that I'm that. And I realize is that, and I believe things are so polarized that when they realize that they can get along with me and that we can have conversations like regular people and like, oh man, like I feel so comfortable with you.
You must be Republican.
You must be.
Exactly.
Like they believe that there's no way that they could have that amicable of a relationship with somebody on the other party. And it's like, there's no way I would ever get along with a Democrat. Therefore, you must be Republican.
Man, that's insane. And it also just reflects how much people actually do identify with the parties.
Right. And they are how Democrats, right? I might say like, I mean, you're not bigoted. You're not like, unrelenting, right? Whatever the negatives that Democrats think about Republicans, and like you're not those things, therefore you must be a Democrat as well. Like you must not be a Republican then. And it's like we have these assumptions about what people in a given party are like that we're just kind of putting tropes and already pre-identifying people.
Yep.
And just assuming they're like, oh, okay, like you fall into these lines, but like we're seeing people just as red and blue, not as who they are. And there's so much more dimension to people than these party lines.
Mm-hmm.
And given that, like your party should not be the biggest part of your identity or your personality, right? If you are somebody who will like fly a flag of the person that you voted for and like wear all the apparel, like let me ask you, when was and you identify as being Christian, right? When is the last time do you speak about Christ as much as you speak about the person that you voted for?
Mm-hmm.
Do you rep Christ as much as you rep that person, right? And let me ask you as well, does this not feel like an idol to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Like, how much are you placing into a person or like this party and so forth? Like, do you rep the kingdom of God as much as you rep red or blue?
It's a good point too, because it also thinks about like the greatest command he gave us is to love our God, and then the second is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you got to ask yourself, when you find out your brother or sister is the opposite party of you, can you genuinely love them in your heart?
Right.
And if not, it could be an idol for you, and God's not in the midst of that. He's not agreeing with you, and your relationship and your righteousness is in jeopardy right now because you're putting things above God.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous spot to be in.
You're also sinning.
Yes.
Like,
not loving your neighbor.
right.
You're not loving your neighbor.
Yeah, given command from Christ. Like, a final command I leave with you, love each other as I have loved you. But then you find out that your friend is Republican, you find out that they're Democrat, and now it's a struggle to love them, or you start looking at them in a different light. Like, if you stop loving that person over this one thing, this thing is causing you to sin, right? And that is a problem in your life. And you would say like, oh, if it was alcoholism, right? And you go home every night and you get drunk and you get wasted, and like you would look at that person and say like, oh, this person has a problem because the Bible talks about debauchery and it talks about drunkenness, and you say like, oh, easy, that's an easy thing to call out, like boom, right there. But loving people, right, as you said, like the two top things Jesus pointed out were love your God above all others, put no other God before him. The second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Right? These are just commands, do these things. And if you're not able to do that, then this is something that you're putting in the way of your ability to follow Christ's command for you.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody extremely close to me the other day, and it was very, very brief on the phone. Essentially, the conversation immediately went political, and essentially he said, you're going to have to choose. You're going to have to choose a side. And he's not Christian, right? And it just sunk in my heart how deep that statement goes in the way that he did not mean it in any way, shape, or form. What side are we choosing? Right? Are you choosing your political side, right? Or are you choosing Christ and letting that guide a decision of which party you vote for? Right? And it's like, it just sunk in my heart right there that people take this so seriously to the point that that's the side that they choose in life, in their life.
It's like, it's kind of veered from look, like 50 years ago, this wasn't actually, go back 50 years ago, these parties were flipped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
facts.
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
wholeheartedly.
Because
Yeah.
I'm going back to like what you said about like liberal conservative versus Democrat Republican. They are independent things, though they do currently match up,
Mhm.
right? So Republican is going to fall into conservative, and Democrat is going to fall into liberal, though they were flipped at one point. But at some point, they were just debating over how much people should pay in taxes. Like that was like the biggest debate. It's like, oh, should they pay like 6% or should they pay 5%? Like 1% difference is like what we're debating here. But now we're debating like, are they from the devil and like do they hate
Right.
everyone? Are they trying to kill God? Like
They're trying to kill God.
right. No, this is real things that I've seen like on the news, man. Like bullet points of what people think about the other sides.
Mm.
And it's like we feel like we're two different races, basically. We're two,
Yeah.
well, they're like two different species. And like, I want people to realize, especially if you're Christian, like, and you believe in like going to heaven, do you realize that people from the other party are going to be in heaven with you?
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Good point.
Chilling with you.
And it's like, are you gonna be in heaven and ask them, hey, who did you vote for? Like, I don't want to be on that side. Like, nah,
Right.
don't, no. Hey, yo, God, can you just like make a river right here? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
you
wanna
already knew
feel
your
like
heart
this.
before you said that. So he's like, don't even come to me, bro.
right. And it's like, here's another thing, right? When you apply for a job, one of the things they look at is, can they work with you? Right? Are you going to be a good fit here in this workplace? Can we work
Yeah.
with you? Can we get along with you? And if they don't feel like they are, they're not going to let you into that job.
Right.
And if you are not going to be able to fit into heaven, like this might be a risk. Like your entrance into heaven might be a risk if you're like so divided from being able to like one of the top two commands that Jesus gave, love your neighbor as yourself. But you cannot love that person because they're on the other party. And you die, you go to heaven. Now you find out that like this person is in the other party, and in heaven you cannot get along with this person. You might not fit in there.
And even to go even further in that statement, like even if it's not, the everyday person, if you can't love the political leader,
Yeah.
and if the leader that you just if you see a political leader and you have this hatred in your heart,
Right.
to where like if you even acknowledge this man disgusts me in every single way, right? You could be at jeopardy and get into heaven because you have unforgiveness in your heart.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have hatred in your heart,
Mhm.
and that you're not willing to get rid of because of something that you heard on social media that was told by another imperfect person.
And on
Right.
top of all that, like when you're looking at these political leaders, like on top of everything that you just said, are you judging them? You know what I mean? Like they
Right.
are their own they are their own creation of God.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're looking at them in any other way, in any other capacity other than them being a creation of God that he loves dearly. Right? And so I'm like in the New Testament, I don't remember exactly which book, but like it tells us to pray for our leaders.
Mhm.
Pray for the authorities.
Right, it does say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
Also-
praying? Are you praying for Donald Trump? Right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
as much as you despise everything that he stands for, are you still going to say, I disagree with all of that, but I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to love you and I'm going to pray for you.
Right.
And I would also say too, like ask yourself that question: am I willing to not get into heaven over this one person?
Mhm.
Like, am I willing to just hold hatred and envy in my heart because of the side that they're on and because they're representing that side?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even if you love everybody else around you, if you have unforgiveness in your heart towards anybody, that same measure will be judged towards you. And are you okay with that? If God judged you the same way you're judging that political leader. So you really want to think about that.
Yeah. Also, 1 Corinthians 1:10 tells us that the authorities that exist have been established by God. So whoever is a leader at that point in time has been put there by God, right? Or at least allowed to be in power by
Right.
God.
Mm.
And that means that Donald Trump being in power is established by God. And Republicans listening to that are rejoicing right now. But it also means that when Joe Biden was in power, he was established in power by God. You can
Right.
say what you want about which one was it? The 2020 election.
Yeah.
2020, yeah.
You can talk about the 2020 election all you want, but he would not have been in power and be an authority if it was not established by God.
Period.
You have a problem, read 1 Corinthians 1:10.
Yeah.
It's right there in the Bible, right? So no matter who the leader is at a point in time, that person is established by God. And that means that, as you guys are saying, we have to recognize, yes, that these people are imperfect. Pray for them, but then recognize that, hey, this person holds a place of authority in the land that I live in. And I have to respect the authority in the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it also means it doesn't mean to not, like, you can have your beliefs. It doesn't mean to not vote. It just means vote with zero attachment. Like, you can vote for something in there that you're like, that policy would work great for me. That'd be awesome. I love that. But if it doesn't happen, I am not in distress. I am not in hurt. I'm not in pain.
Yeah. I
am perfectly fine because my trust belongs elsewhere, and that belongs to the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't mean to, like, okay, well, just don't vote at all. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, people are in office based on voting. So your vote matters.
Yeah.
But if you think that voting is going to cause you to be ungodly in some type of way, maybe voting isn't for you. Maybe you should stay away from voting. Yeah. But vote with zero attachment.
Yeah, you got to know yourself. Like, if anything is going to cause you to stumble in any way, shape, or form, avoid it. You know what I mean? Until you can come to a place where it doesn't make you stumble. But I really want to bounce off what you said, about God putting the authorities in place. Like, when we think about when Jesus was being tried, right, by Pilate, like, he said, "Don't you know that I have the authority to crucify you or to release you?" And Jesus was like, "You wouldn't have nothing, and my daddy didn't give it to you." You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus knew, like my dad put you here, right? Yeah. But it was to fulfill the ultimate plan. Like, I mean, I'm sure there was plenty of other reasons, right? But ultimately, it was so he could be at that point in time to do that specific thing, to carry out that plan, so that Jesus could be crucified, so that we would have salvation. So, for better or for worse, on the outside looking in, you're like, that's a horrible leader, blah, 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 whatever you may think about it. And God still used it to fulfill his plan, right?
Right.
So if you completely disagree with who is in authority, even if they are doing things that are not good, right? You don't know God's plan.
Right.
You don't know what the end goal is. You don't know why God put that person in authority, but God put that person there for his goals to be accomplished. And it's like, are you trusting in this person, or are you trusting in the fact that God is using them to accomplish his goals? And even if it looks crazy, am I going to trust God? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. No, 100%. Because as you're saying, right, God establishes all authorities. If God puts a person in power, either they are consequential, like they're instrumental, rather, to his plan, or they're non-consequential, meaning that no matter what they do, what he has in place
it's still gonna happen.
Is not gonna be bothered by that person, or this person. He knows that this person will do things that he will work through, and they will further his grand scheme of plans.
Yeah.
Right. And then say like, hey, well, I did not want this person to be president. I think they had no idea what they're doing, but who is in control? Overall, God is in control. God is in control of my life. So my trajectory for my life is unchanged no matter who is in power. Why? Because my steps, my path in life is dictated by God.
Right.
And there is no power or principality that is beyond that.
Amen.
100%.
Amen.
That's real.
The other thing to think about is, right, with recognizing your path, recognizing your citizenship, right? Like, how do you identify? And it's like, which passport do you carry, right? And it's like, I got an American passport. Well, I got a passport that no other country recognizes validly, but is good anywhere. I guess it's not good anywhere because it might get you in trouble anywhere, but it's a passport from citizenship of heaven, right? It can be like, oh, what passport you got? I got the heaven passport.
I got the kingdom passport.
Got the kingdom passport. Oh yeah, let me sign that.
Oh dang, it expired.
Yeah,
remember when you judged?
Yo, let me go fast real quick. I need to update my passport.
Let me fast.
It's like, we're good now, right? All right, I'm gonna travel. All right, cool.
Oh, I haven't repented yet.
Dang, bro, they didn't update my profile pic, bro.
That was from like 10 years ago when I got baptized. What do you mean? But took aside, it's like we like to take, as you said, take sides, right? And identify based on like, these are my people. Like I feel camaraderie here with my party, or like even like a nation, right? And it feels very us versus them in a lot of places.
Yep.
But which us are you more so a part of? Are you, because those lines can overlap.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can see people like, I identify, I'm a white male. Okay? 2 white males and 2 black males. Right? And it's like, the us there is our color, our race. And it's like, well, I'm a Georgia fan and he's a Florida fan. Now we got 1 black, 1 white on both sides. It's like, okay, well, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Now we're back, right? And these lines, how you identify, overlap because there are many facets to your identity. And some of them weigh over the others. Like, well, he likes ketchup. Oh, cool. Like, I also like ketchup. Yeah, like we like ketchup. Not that big a deal. But then it comes to like, he's a Democrat. Dang. Sorry, bro. I can't talk to you, bro. And are you putting like this person loves God, like this person is Christian, above all those other factors?
Yeah, that's good. And I also think about, like why might a Christian decide or opt in to vote Republican versus Democrat? You know what I mean? Like, I guess on the Republican side, why would a Christian, what alignment does a Christian see in voting Republican?
Yeah, I think for the Republican side, it just kind of boils down to what we were stating earlier, just about more like overall the morals of a Republican align with traditional values of the Bible, basically.
Okay.
Right. So when you have tradition and you can see it in the Bible and you are quote unquote living by the Bible, then logically it only makes sense that you are doing God's work. You're voting in the way God would want you to vote, right? They're excluding a lot of factors. They're excluding the factor of judgment, right? That like no sin, all sin is created equal. It's all the same. What does it look like to God? Sin, period. Right? So even if you are voting and you still are sinning within your votes, it's still wrong. But it's hard to justify that when the opposite party is pushing for the agenda that is actually the opposite of the Bible. A lot of the times and a lot of things, right? And the reason why they do that, I believe that it is done because the Republican Party claims to be Christian with so much hatred and judgment. And when you have that, it's like, how can your non-judgmental loving God be the party that represents Christianity and God? There's no way. You guys hate, so I'm just going to do the opposite of what your party does.
Wow.
Right? I want justice differently than what you do because you think that's what God represents.
Wow.
Wow.
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking for the Democratic side, I was thinking more along the lines of, I guess something similar, but the reverse. So like, somebody could say, okay, the Democrats believe we should take away guns, right? That's one of their, maybe not all Democrats, but I feel like that's a pretty solid
portion for sure.
That's a good portion of them, right? It's a solid amount. And like the reasoning behind that and why a Christian might align with that is because of the fact that, number one, we know like humans are just like, we just choose wrong. Like we just do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the classic argument of like, well, the pencil doesn't just get up and start writing on its own. Like a human has to pick it up and start writing. It's the same thing with a gun, but at the end of the day, like you're not holding a pencil, you're holding a thing that can actually take another life.
Right.
So it's like the same principle applies. Like it's the human behind the gun, but like at the end of the day, we know what humans are like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So from a Christian standpoint, a lot of the points on the Democratic side do seem to point towards trying to move humanity in a way that to some people could look like control, to other people it looks like freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like how much freedom can you have without regulation?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the kids who die in school shootings didn't have freedom. Right? They got their lives taken. And so somebody, and I say that just to paint a picture of what it could be, what could be like ruminating in the heart of a Christian who aligns with the democratic beliefs, because even if the democratic beliefs don't outright say we follow the Bible, right? A lot of the things that they do could be seen as against it, but a lot of the things that they do seem to align with trying to love people, trying to include people, trying to not judge people, right? And so, like, to your point, whenever you're saying like the Democrats will look at the Republican side and say, well, you guys are just judging everyone and hatred and all of that. So on the Democratic side, inclusivity or inclusiveness, right, is seen as not judging somebody for the way that they choose to live their life.
That's real.
Even if they may, like a Christian may say, I don't agree with how you live your life, but it's not for me to tell you that you can't live that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for at least what I believe a Christian on a Democratic side might believe is that they truly align with the fact that the Democrats, as best as they can, want to move humanity forward in a direction that provides as much of an equal ground, an equal basis for everybody, and includes everybody without judging them, but only has the amount of regulation necessary to provide people with true freedom of not having to worry about, you know, a school shooting, or like if I know it's a very small percentage, right? But like if a woman was raped, they want to be able to have the ability to have an abortion because they were given that against their will, right? So from a Democratic point of view, it can be like, well, that is how you love another person, by not telling them what they can or can't do, right? And like, so from a Christian standpoint, like God told us what we shouldn't do. He said, don't eat from that tree. But he still gave us the ability to do it. He still gave us the ability to decide to do it. And so I think on the Democratic side, it's like, because there's a lack of doing it the biblical way, that self-justice comes in and says, well, now this is how we only want to regulate it in this way, because if we regulate it in this way, we believe it'll give you the most free will, whether that's actually true or not. And so I think a Christian might align with that and say, okay, it does look like their laws and their values do align on the side of love.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think on that side, I would say the concept of from Peter 2, right? I think it's First Peter, being foreigners and exiles, right? I would ask you. I think Republicans would answer this unanimously, but you know, if you're not a citizen, should you be able to vote in the country? Right? And I think like that's going through right now and through the headlines right now, it's like it's pretty unanimous on the Republican side. That's going to be a no. I think a lot of Democrats actually would say no as well. I mean, depending on leaders, but I think voters on the Democratic side would also say no. Like, no, you should not be able to vote in a country if you're not a citizen of that country. Well, First Peter 2 tells us that we, as when you become a citizen of a nation, you most of the time have to give up your citizenship of the other nation, right? So like if I'm
really?
Yeah, you have to denounce your citizenship of another. So if I
so you can't be a citizen of multiple
There's
countries?
no dual citizenship?
There is dual citizenship, but you have to be like close allies.
Okay.
Like
the countries have to be close.
Yeah. And you
Very
kind of have to
interesting.
like have permission on that, right? So let's say I went to, take an easy one, right? Russia. I'm a Russian citizen. Now I become an American citizen. I have to denounce my Russian citizenship. in order to hold my American citizenship.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
God.
So
bro.
if I'm a citizen of heaven, which citizenship do I choose? The country that I'm in or heaven?
Wow. That's
It all goes back to identity, man. Like where is your actual identity? Like
Right.
what's the side that you're actually choosing?
Right. And I think this, like that, right? What you said. But the thing is not to say like, oh, don't take pride in the country that you live in. Like, my family is from Jamaica. I love the fact that my family's from Jamaica. I have a lot of pride in that culture, right? And I love that. But citizen of America. And while I'm saying like your citizenship from heaven versus the citizenship of where you live right now, not to denounce the place that you live in if you love the place that you live in, but what is your priority? Right? Which one do you hold higher than the other? Right? And you say like, oh, 1 Peter 2:11 calls us to live as foreigners and exiles, submit ourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, right? Whether that be an emperor, a governor, or whatever, right? Show proper respect to everyone, love each other, love everybody, and to fear God, right? And so basically live in this place, kind of keep your head down, right? Don't stir things up, respect whoever the authority is, submit to that authority and whatever they choose. And you say like, oh, should you vote? Should you vote? Should you vote? Yeah, you can vote based on like what I said, like the interests in you are, right? But your citizenship in heaven outweighs your citizenship or your party alignment here on earth, right? From a lot of people, they do not care what the policies are that a person believes in. They do not care what the platform that they're running on is. They only care what party is this person.
Yeah, facts.
When you go to vote, there's so many people on the list that you have no idea who they are, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, are they D or are they R? Bet. All right, D D D D D D D D or R R R R.
After
You can't roll your R.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You're on the spot like that.
Oh my God, not you Spanish now. Come on.
Shoot, hold on now.
Now.
But you know, the identity there, foregoing the fact that like, hey, I'm holding to being like a patriot or like whatever, like I'm deep in like my country. Take a step back from that and put your biggest priority on the fact that you're a citizen of heaven, right? And I think what Peter is saying here is like, recognize that this entire world is not your home. And I feel like not Republicans would say like, right, coming into a country and like stirring things up and making it the way that you want it to be, right? That's a huge problem for Republicans. And I think a lot of people will kind of like feel that way as well, right? And as somebody who is not of this world, trying to make the world be the way that you want it, that's a losing battle. And Peter is telling us to not even bother to try to do that, right? Be a light, but not try to like force your way onto these things, right? So on the Republican side, it's great to like approve of the morals if you want those morals there. But here's another thing. There's separation of church and state, right? Look at like these Muslim countries, and they'd say like, oh, like you talk about like the beliefs there, and like, oh, they force their women to wear this, and like they force this on their people, and they force that. Well, that's the religion of the people, right? And it's like, yeah, some of them are harsher on that than in certain states than others, but that's the religion. And it's the same concept where like you have a religious structure that you're forcing on the people. So if you're doing the same thing just with Christianity, if you're trying to force Christian concepts onto people who are not Christian. So in the same way, I would say, you know, vote along the lines of where you feel best aligns with you. I'll tell you, like, look, understand what your priorities are. Like for me, and when I was in college, it was student loans. I was like, look, who talking about wiping them student loans, boy? I don't care what he talking about. If you say student loan, I'm voting for you, boy.
Yeah.
Look, Bernie was my boy.
Yeah, feel the burn.
I was feeling that burn. You talking about getting rid of that student loan? I said, all right.
You gonna let me get a free master's degree? All right,
Yes, sir. I'm like, I don't care what else come out his mouth. Just wipe that loan. I don't want to hear nothing. But Bernie, I don't care. I have one priority. I'm a college student. Is paying for this debt.
Yeah,
that's all I care about. Right now, I'm like, all right, I'm out of college. Whatever. Can pay it off. Whatever. But at the time, that was the only thing that I could. That was my only priority. Now, I may be looking towards. I was watching the show Futurama, right? And then they had realized that they all had stock in the company and they all had money. And it's like, wow. She was like, when they realized that they all had stock in the company and they all had a bunch of money, she was like, wow, now suddenly I have an opinion on the capital gains tax.
It's facts.
That's 100% real.
It's like these things don't matter to you until they matter to you. So think about like what matters to you in this moment, right? Like you have your family, or like maybe you're a student, like you care about that. Maybe you like you care about immigration because your family is immigrated here, right? Maybe you care about healthcare because you have family that has health issues, right? And like these are really the things that matter to people. No, like it's not about like, oh, this person believes in this, or like this person believes in that. It's like what matters to benefit the people, because here's the thing is that like politicians are there to benefit the people. They're supposed to be there to serve the people of the country and represent the wants and needs of the people that they represent. And so think about what is going to best serve you and your family at that point in time, and recognize, hopefully give people the benefit of the doubt that they voted in a way that best benefited them, or that they felt would best benefit them for their situation. So one person might be running on a platform of healthcare, and somebody might say, man, my grandmother has cancer and I want her to have access to healthcare. But this other candidate is not running on that platform. I cannot vote for that candidate.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you don't know what people's stories
are. Right.
You don't know what led them to vote for that person. So you can't just see the party that they voted for or who they voted for and immediately write them off. Get to know their story first. Ask them, why did you go down that route? Like, why did you vote for that person? We will like shut the door on people just because of the party or the person without even understanding what led them to make that decision.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. And so you're saying to look at when people vote, to look at the reasoning behind why that might benefit them.
Yeah.
Right? So then would you suggest voting for what benefits you and your priorities and your family, or voting for what you believe to be the best common good for the majority?
I mean, wouldn't that not be? It depends on how you want to look at that, right? Because if it's going to be the most common good, like, is that not also going to affect you? Like, is that not also going to be good for yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
So then if it's also good for yourself and it's good for others, and I think that's kind of a clear choice there. I think like if you have a pressing issue that like you really care about, right? And I think you want to weigh as well, like if there's this one thing that I want out of everything, right? Like me on the student loans when I was in college, right? If that was the only thing, but there was like so many other things that was going to be damaging to other people, then like, yeah, I was like out of conscience. I would not feel like I can vote for that person because like, okay, yes, this one thing benefits me, but here's these other things that are a detriment to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, am I voting solely on myself while also at the cost of other people? Or is there not a factor of I'm going to feel uncomfortable because this is going to actually lower the quality of life for a lot of people, or like damage a lot of people, even though I would benefit from it?
Yeah. And it's also hard to know because you can't know every single person's preferences in the entire nation.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what would benefit the most people.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting. It all comes down to perception.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It comes down to perception because that's a very broad statement that voting for the side that best suits everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's so many sides, because everyone believes that
they're right.
They're right. Like they have everyone else. So I think like logically, it makes the most sense to one, do your research. You don't have to do the most research on every politician, but you just want to do enough research to see does the overall like whatever this politician is deciding, does that overall judgment for them is that going to benefit me at all? And like you were mentioning, like the student loan thing, like for me, one of the biggest things in 2020 was the idea of crypto. Like, who's going to make crypto life easier? That's all that I cared about. Now I'm starting to really sway towards on a certain, like, there's a spectrum to it, right? Because this is not wholeheartedly, but character is a major, major, major factor for me right now.
Fair.
Because my reliance is
of the politician himself.
Well, yeah, the character of the politician.
Okay.
Right? Because my reliance is on Christ, and I don't care who is in party. Like, I'm not gonna make more or less money because of the politician. I'm gonna make more or less money because of Christ. It's gonna be based on whatever he says and how I align with him and how I move with him and how I trust in him. So, but just in case a politician could potentially do something, you want to know what it is they could potentially do. And then you want their character to be good. Good character as in when they talk about other people, they're not degrading other people. Like it's in the political world, it's all about talking down about your against your other client.
Yeah.
But degrading and talking down are like, degrading is a step above talking down. Degrading is like really, really just being,
you're not even human.
Making them less than human.
Making them less than human. That's what degrading is. And so if a politician is going to degrade somebody, then why would you want that representation? Because the moment they are going for something that you're against, right? Now you'll be degraded, right? You have to think about that. Maybe your loved ones will be degraded. And that's where I've been in the thought process of.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And I can get why, like, that's why people make assumptions on people, right? Because if the character of the person that you voted for, like, that's a reflection of yourself as well, right? And I might say, like, I didn't vote for this person because I cared, like, because of the character. I just didn't like the other person that much because the news told me that this person was a bad person, and I thought that they were gonna, or because they're in a party that I don't like. And it's like, well, I think you should kind of think about yourself like a little, like think for yourself a little bit more there, right? Like if this other person is in a party that is not the party that you voted or your father voted or your grandfather voted, but they have values that you appreciate, they have good character, they did not say like a single like negative or like degrading thing about the other candidate, right? But rather to try to boost themselves up, right? Recognizing that like politicians are salesmen and they're selling you a story that you want to hear, right? Sure. So the product that they're selling is something that you want to buy, and you do feel like the changes that they plan to put in place are ones that would benefit you and a lot of people, but most importantly you and your family, but they're just on the other party,
right?
And it's like, hey, there might come a time when that person is going to come around, and you shouldn't close yourself off because your identity is so solely in one party that you can't vote for someone, or you're going to feel ashamed voting for someone that's actually going to be your best interest.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I think the more that we discuss, like, it's all about perception, identity, and where you're putting your trust and your faith.
Yeah.
Those three things need to shape how you vote, whether Democrat or Republican. It's where are you actually putting your identity, right? What are you actually a citizen of, right? Who are you putting your trust and your faith in? Is it this politician? Is it this party? Is it their policies? Is what you think is gonna, come about from them being in power, right? Or are you putting your trust in the fact that God is ultimately in control? God is going to use this person for his purposes, good or bad, right? Ultimately, it will be for the good, but you just don't know what that's going to look like, right? And then it's your perception of of those things, but then also your perception of how is this going to benefit me? How is this going to benefit other people? What are the pros and cons, right? And then trying to not look at it from too much of a biased perception, right? And that's hard to do because at the end of the day, like, we're all biased, whether you know it or not, whether you want to be or not, we're all biased, right?
100%.
But it's about trying to be aware of it as much as you can, and trying to be aware of what you are biased of, and trying to be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, you know, like you said, prioritizing your identity in Christ and in heaven first. Recognizing that you might be putting your own salvation at risk by not loving another person because they're in another party, right? You think about assimilation, you think about being able to fit into a space and recognizing, like, hey, you might not like a person or you might not like the party that they affiliate with, but there's going to be people from the other party in heaven as well. So you might as well start figuring out how to get along with them here now while you're on earth, and things are a lot easier.
Right.
You know, we have room to make mistakes and grow, and there's going to be growing pains. But, you know, I would say essentially, I don't know, I feel like I would say probably Jesus wouldn't vote. I feel like I've asked people about this question. I think to that end, right, that it's not really going to matter for him, right? Because you said, like, he kind of knows, like, what's going to happen anyways, right? I mean, it's like, whoever is in power is established by God. But I think, like, his purpose is a little bit beyond that, right? I don't think it really mattered to him that Caesar was in power or whoever else was going to be in power. I think he knew who is actually in power, and that is the Father over all things. And so who's leader of this nation or this nation or this nation doesn't really matter what nation he ends up in. And I would say, you know, it's not that big of a deal towards that, right? Because his mission, his purpose was never gonna change. So towards that end, I would say, hey, now focus on your mission. But at the same time, we have a bit longer here in this world than, I mean, potentially, hopefully, you know, you make it past 33. But I would say we do have more time here potentially. And so looking towards either A, if you don't feel comfortable voting, sure, that's fine, right? If you say I can't get behind anybody, and you know what, I don't feel like it's really going to make an impact for me, that's fine. If you want to vote and you feel like, you know what, the people fought for this right for me, or like I just feel like I should do my civil duty and vote, look towards beyond just party lines, but to who really fits your values the most. Understand kind of some of the things that they're selling, what they say that they're what they stand for, and then build from there. And, you know, be able to have conversations, practice now having conversations with people from other sides, and don't be so quick to judge people for who they voted, but understand their story and what brought them there. And if they just did it straight off of just party lines, have conversations like we just did. I feel like we kind of expanded more beyond just like, hey, red, blue, but there's more facets, more faculty there than just, hey, I am subscribing to one party and that's what I'm subscribing to till the day that I die. And you know, if there's more ways to say this or to phrase this, let us know. If you feel like you identify, if you do vote by your religion and you feel like that aligns with one party over the other, let us know. Drop it in the comments. If we feel like we misrepresented one of your sides, let us know how we should have represented that. Tell us how we should have.
My bad, Democrats. My bad.
You know, if you feel like your side is right and it would have been the clear choice if we had sold it better, let us know. If you feel like Jesus would have voted one way or the other, let us know. I'm always here to talk about it. But if there's a topic that you do want us to hit in another episode, drop it in the comments, hit us up on social media, let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Sweet.
Word.
I'm the co-host, Wisdom with Josh.
Your co-host, James.
Co-host, Logan.
And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I know you got some struggles, come let's talk about it. I know you got some pain, come let's talk about it. You thumbing through that rain, we gon' talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We building up that kingdom, we gon' heal the body. Just 3 men sitting here, we tryna be so godly. Got purpose in the tongue so we can hear your calling. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.